This type of fat is killing people quietly every single day. Not the fat you can pinch, not the fat you see in the mirror, but a deeper fat that wraps around your organs and slowly damages them from the inside. Visceral fat is the most dangerous fat in the human body. Doctors fear it more than visible belly fat. Scientists link it directly to heart disease, type 2 diabetes, fatty liver, stroke, and early death. And the most alarming part is this. You can have dangerous levels of visceral fat even if you look slim. This fat does not sit under your skin. It sits deep inside your abdomen. It surrounds your liver, pancreas, and intestines. It presses on vital organs and releases toxic chemicals into your blood. These chemicals trigger inflammation. They disrupt hormones. They destroy insulin sensitivity, and they quietly push the body toward chronic disease. Many people think belly fat is only a cosmetic issue. They think it is about looks. They think it is about tight clothes or beach photos. That belief is wrong. Visceral fat is a biological threat. It is active tissue. It behaves like a harmful organ inside your body. Here is a lesser-known fact. Visceral fat produces more inflammatory signals than any other fat type. It talks directly to your liver. It interferes with how your body handles sugar and fat. It raises blood pressure even before weight gain becomes obvious. This is why some people develop diabetes or heart disease without ever being obese. Another hidden truth is this. Visceral fat responds faster to the right changes than any other fat. It grows fast. But it also shrinks fast when the body receives the correct signals. This makes it dangerous. But it also makes it beatable. Most people are fighting visceral fat the wrong way. They count calories. They do endless cardio. They focus on crunches and flat stomach workouts. They step on the scale and wait for progress. But visceral fat does not care about spot exercises. It does not respond to starvation. And it does not disappear just because you sweat longer. Visceral fat listens to hormones. It listens to insulin. It listens to stress chemicals. It listens to sleep patterns. And it reacts strongly to how and when you eat. Science has uncovered something powerful. There is a faster way to shrink visceral fat than traditional dieting. It is not extreme. It is not complicated. But it works because it targets the root cause instead of the surface problem. In this video, you will learn exactly what visceral fat is doing inside your body right now. You will learn why common fat loss advice often fails against this specific fat. You will learn the fastest science-backed method to shrink visceral fat safely. You will also learn the daily habits that either protect you or silently increase this dangerous fat. You will discover why some people lose inches from their waist before losing weight on the scale. You will understand why sleep can matter more than exercise for visceral fat loss. And you will learn how stress alone can block fat burning, even with a perfect diet. This information is not based on trends or social media opinions. It comes from controlled studies and medical research. It comes from understanding how the body truly works. And once you understand it, you can never see belly fat the same way again. Stay with this video until the end, because the final part will show you a simple daily plan that many doctors never explain clearly. A plan that does not require extreme effort. A plan that works with your biology instead of against it. Your health is not only about how you look. It is about what is happening inside your body when nobody is watching. Visceral fat grows in silence, but with the right knowledge, it can shrink just as quietly. Welcome to our channel. This is where science meets simple action. This is where health becomes clear and practical. If you care about protecting your body and living longer, subscribe now and stay with us. Visceral fat is the deep fat stored inside the abdomen that surrounds and presses against vital organs like the liver, pancreas, and intestines. Unlike the fat you can feel under your skin, this fat stays hidden and cannot be pinched or measured by touch. It lives behind the abdominal muscles, wrapped around organs that control blood sugar, digestion, and hormone balance. Subcutaneous fat sits just beneath the skin. It is the fat you see in the mirror. It is the fat that moves when you touch your stomach or thighs. While excess subcutaneous fat can affect appearance, it is mostly passive. Visceral fat is different. It is metabolically active. It behaves like an organ that sends harmful signals throughout the body. Visceral fat releases inflammatory chemicals directly into the bloodstream. These chemicals travel straight to the liver through a special blood pathway. Once there, they interfere with how the liver processes sugar and fat. This disruption leads to insulin resistance, a condition where the body stops responding properly to insulin. When insulin resistance increases, blood sugar stays high, fat storage increases, and fat burning slows down. Hormones are also affected. Visceral fat increases cortisol, the body's main stress hormone. High cortisol signals the body to store more fat, especially around the abdomen. At the same time, visceral fat reduces the effectiveness of hormones that control hunger and fullness. This creates a cycle where the body stores more fat while feeling less satisfied after eating. Inflammation caused by visceral fat does not stay local. It spreads throughout the body. Chronic low-level inflammation damages blood vessels, stiffens arteries, and stresses the heart. Over time, this raises the risk of heart disease and high blood pressure, even in people with normal body weight. The pancreas also suffers. Visceral fat interferes with insulin production and insulin release. This pushes the body closer to type 2 diabetes. Blood sugar spikes become more frequent. Energy levels fluctuate. Fat storage increases further. The liver is another major target. Excess visceral fat increases fat accumulation inside liver cells. This leads to fatty liver disease, even in people who do not drink alcohol. A fatty liver struggles to regulate cholesterol and detoxify the blood. This places additional strain on the entire metabolic system. Hormonal imbalance becomes more likely as visceral fat increases. Sex hormones are disrupted. Testosterone levels can drop in men. Estrogen balance can shift in women. Thyroid signaling can slow down. These changes make fat loss harder and fatigue more common. One of the most dangerous aspects of visceral fat is how invisible it is. You do not need to look overweight to have it. You do not need a large waist or obvious belly. Many people with slim arms and legs carry high levels of visceral fat internally. This is why some people develop serious metabolic diseases without obvious weight gain. Visceral fat increases risk quietly. No pain, no clear warning signs. Problems develop slowly over years. By the time symptoms appear, damage is often already underway. Most traditional fat loss advice is built around the idea that fat can be targeted directly. This is why people are told to do crunches, planks, and endless core workouts to flatten the stomach. These exercises strengthen muscles, but they do not decide where fat is burned. Fat loss is controlled by hormones and blood signals, not by muscle movement. Visceral fat does not respond to local muscle work because it is stored deep inside the abdomen, far from the muscles being trained. Spot reduction fails because the body releases fat systemically. When fat is burned, it comes from storage sites chosen by hormonal signals, not from the area being exercised. Visceral fat only becomes available for burning when insulin levels drop and fat-burning hormones increase. Without these signals, no amount of crunches can force the body to access this deep fat. Long, steady cardio is often promoted as the solution. Walking for hours or running at a slow pace does burn calories, but it has a limited effect on visceral fat when done alone. Extended cardio can raise cortisol, especially when combined with poor sleep or low-calorie intake. Elevated cortisol tells the body to protect stored energy and hold onto abdominal fat. Another problem with long cardio is adaptation. The body quickly becomes efficient at steady movements. Over time, the same workout burns fewer calories and produces weaker hormonal responses. Visceral fat responds best to strong metabolic signals, not prolonged low-intensity effort. Insulin plays a central role in this process. When insulin is high, fat burning is blocked. Frequent eating, sugary foods, and refined carbohydrates keep insulin elevated throughout the day. In this state, visceral fat remains locked in storage, no matter how much exercise is performed. Stress hormones add another layer of resistance. Psychological stress, lack of sleep, and overtraining increase cortisol levels. Cortisol directly promotes fat storage around the abdomen. It also increases cravings for high-energy foods, creating a feedback loop that favors visceral fat gain. Many people unknowingly combine high insulin with high cortisol. They eat frequently. They train hard. They sleep poorly. This combination sends mixed signals to the body. The result is slow or stalled fat loss, especially from the visceral area. Without addressing insulin control and stress regulation, traditional fat loss advice fails to reach the deeper fat that matters most. Most common fat loss advice focuses on effort instead of biology. People are told to target the belly by training the abs harder. Crunches, sit-ups, and core circuits are repeated every day with the hope that fat will melt away from the stomach. These movements build muscle strength, but they do not control fat release. Visceral fat is stored deep inside the body and cannot be burned by working nearby muscles. The body decides where fat is released based on internal signals, not exercise location. Spot reduction fails because fat cells respond to hormones in the bloodstream. When the body needs energy, it releases fat from areas that are hormonally available at that moment. If insulin remains high, fat cells stay locked. Visceral fat is especially sensitive to insulin, which makes it resistant when blood sugar is frequently elevated. This is why people can feel stronger and tighter in the core but see little change in belly size. Long cardio sessions are often treated as the ultimate solution. Hours of walking, jogging, or cycling can burn calories, but visceral fat reacts slowly to this approach alone. Steady cardio produces a mild fat-burning signal, but it does not strongly lower insulin or improve metabolic flexibility. Over time, the body adapts and becomes efficient, reducing the impact of the same workout. Extended cardio can also increase stress hormones. When cortisol stays elevated, the body shifts into a protective mode. Energy is conserved. Fat storage around the abdomen increases. This response is stronger when cardio is combined with calorie restriction or lack of recovery. Insulin plays a central role in visceral fat storage. Frequent meals, refined carbohydrates, and sweetened drinks keep insulin elevated for most of the day. As long as insulin is high, visceral fat remains protected from breakdown. Exercise alone cannot override this signal. Stress hormones amplify the problem. Poor sleep, emotional stress, and overtraining raise cortisol levels. Cortisol encourages fat storage near the organs and disrupts appetite regulation. This combination slows visceral fat loss even in disciplined individuals. Without controlling insulin and stress, traditional fat loss methods fail to reach the most dangerous fat in the body. The fastest science-backed way to shrink visceral fat focuses on changing metabolic and hormonal signals, not just burning calories. This approach works because visceral fat is highly sensitive to internal changes in insulin and energy demand. When the body receives the right signals, this deep fat becomes available for use much faster than surface fat. Controlled research has consistently shown that reducing insulin exposure leads to a rapid decrease in visceral fat. Participants who improved insulin control lost more visceral fat even when total weight loss was modest. This happens because visceral fat has a higher blood supply and greater hormonal activity than other fat stores. The core strategy is simple. Lower insulin, increase fat access, allow the body to shift into a fat-burning state more often. This does not require extreme dieting. It requires structured eating patterns and metabolic awareness. When insulin drops, fat cells receive a clear signal to release stored energy. Visceral fat responds first because it is designed to supply quick energy during stress or fasting. Once insulin stays low for sustained periods, enzymes that break down fat become more active. Free fatty acids are released into the bloodstream and used for fuel. Another key factor is metabolic flexibility. This is the body's ability to switch between burning sugar and burning fat. Visceral fat interferes with this flexibility, but it also responds quickly when flexibility improves. Short periods of low insulin restore this switching ability and accelerate visceral fat loss. Hormones amplify the effect. Lower insulin reduces cortisol over time. Growth hormone activity increases during low insulin states, especially during sleep. Growth hormone directly targets visceral fat and supports tissue repair. Studies comparing different fat loss approaches have shown that metabolic-focused methods reduce waist size and internal fat faster than calorie restriction alone. Even without intense exercise, changes in eating timing and insulin exposure produce measurable reductions in visceral fat. This method works because it aligns with human biology. Visceral fat was designed to be mobilized quickly when energy is needed. By creating the right hormonal environment, the body does what it is naturally programmed to do. The eating pattern that supports visceral fat loss is not about perfection or extreme restriction. It is about reducing the foods that keep insulin high for long periods. The first category to eat less of is refined carbohydrates. This includes white bread, pastries, sugary snacks, sweetened drinks, and processed cereals. These foods digest quickly and cause sharp spikes in blood sugar, forcing the body to release large amounts of insulin. Highly processed foods also deserve attention. Packaged meals, fast food, and ultra-processed snacks often combine refined carbohydrates with unhealthy fats. This combination makes overeating easy and insulin control difficult. Frequent snacking throughout the day keeps insulin elevated and blocks fat release. What matters most is prioritizing foods that stabilize blood sugar. Protein plays a key role. Eggs, fish, poultry, meat, and whole food protein sources slow digestion and reduce insulin spikes. They also support muscle maintenance and increase fullness. Fiber-rich foods help as well. Vegetables, leafy greens, and low-sugar fruits slow the absorption of carbohydrates. This reduces the insulin response and improves gut health. Healthy fats support hormonal balance and energy control. Foods like olive oil, nuts, seeds, and avocados help the body stay satisfied between meals. Timing often matters more than total calories. Eating constantly from morning to night keeps insulin elevated all day. Allowing clear breaks between meals gives insulin time to fall. This creates windows where fat can be released and used for energy. Late-night eating can interfere with this process. Eating close to bedtime raises insulin when the body is meant to repair and burn fat. Earlier meals and a longer overnight break support visceral fat reduction. Consistency matters more than strict rules. Regular meals with fewer snacks create predictable insulin patterns. This makes fat loss easier and more sustainable. This eating pattern works because it supports the body's natural rhythm rather than fighting it. Movement that targets visceral fat works differently from traditional exercise routines. The body does not respond to movement based only on how long it lasts. It responds to the intensity of the signal. Short periods of higher effort create a stronger metabolic response than long periods of steady activity. Intensity matters because it activates fat-releasing hormones. When effort increases, the body releases adrenaline and growth-related hormones that signal fat cells to open and release stored energy. Visceral fat is especially sensitive to these signals. It was designed to supply quick energy during moments of high demand. This is why it responds faster to short bursts of effort than to long, slow sessions. Long exercise sessions at low intensity mainly burn sugar. Once the body adapts, fat burning slows and energy efficiency increases. Visceral fat remains protected because insulin often stays elevated during and after prolonged exercise, especially when paired with frequent eating. Short bursts of movement create a sharper drop in insulin and a stronger demand for energy. Brief, intense efforts force the body to tap into deeper energy reserves. They increase oxygen demand and improve metabolic flexibility. This teaches the body to switch between fuel sources more easily. Visceral fat cells release energy faster under these conditions because they have a rich blood supply and higher hormone receptor activity. These sessions do not need to be long. A few minutes of increased effort can trigger metabolic changes that last for hours. Fat burning continues even after movement stops. This effect is especially noticeable with visceral fat because it responds quickly to hormonal shifts. Stress and sleep play an equally important role. Cortisol is the body's SEP's main stress hormone. It is released to help manage pressure, danger, or lack of energy. In small amounts, cortisol is helpful. It helps regulate blood sugar and keeps the body alert. Problems begin when cortisol stays high for too long. Poor sleep, constant mental stress, and excessive training all raise cortisol levels. When cortisol remains elevated, the body receives a signal to store energy. Visceral fat becomes a preferred storage site because it is close to vital organs and easy to access later. High cortisol blocks fat breakdown. It increases insulin resistance and raises blood sugar. This creates the perfect environment for visceral fat growth. Even with proper eating and exercise, elevated stress hormones can stop progress completely. Sleep is one of the strongest regulators of cortisol. Short or irregular sleep disrupts hormonal balance. Growth hormone release drops, insulin sensitivity declines. Fat burning slows, especially from the abdominal area. Lack of sleep also increases hunger hormones. Cravings increase. Portion control becomes harder. Late night eating becomes more likely, further raising insulin and cortisol together. Improving sleep does not require complex routines. Going to bed at a consistent time helps regulate hormonal cycles. Reducing light exposure in the evening supports natural sleep signals. Avoiding heavy meals late at night allows insulin to fall during sleep. Managing stress during the day matters as well. Simple practices like walking, breathing exercises, or short breaks reduce cortisol output. Lower stress creates a hormonal environment where visceral fat release becomes possible. Changes in visceral fat can begin sooner than most people expect. Controlled studies have shown measurable reductions in visceral fat within a few weeks when metabolic and hormonal signals improve. This does not always show as dramatic weight loss on the scale. Instead, changes often appear as reduced waist size, improved blood markers, and better energy levels. Visceral fat shrinks first because of how it is designed. It has a high blood supply and a strong response to hormonal shifts. When insulin drops and fat-burning signals rise, this fat becomes available quickly. Subcutaneous fat, the fat under the skin, is more resistant and often decreases later. Early changes can happen in 2 to 4 weeks when eating patterns, movement, and sleep improve together. This does not mean all visceral fat disappears quickly. It means the body begins to reverse the process that created it. Sustained habits lead to continued reduction over time. Unrealistic promises create false expectations. Claims of losing all belly fat in days ignore human biology. Rapid weight loss methods often rely on water loss or muscle breakdown. They do not target visceral fat safely and often lead to rebound fat gain. Patience matters because visceral fat loss is a process of hormonal recalibration. When rushed, stress increases and progress slows. Consistency produces results that last. Several common mistakes can block progress. One is eating foods labeled as healthy while still triggering large insulin spikes. Fruit juices, smoothies, granola, and low-fat snacks can raise blood sugar quickly. Portion size and food combinations matter more than labels. Overtraining is another issue. More exercise does not always mean better results. Excessive training raises cortisol and increases fatigue. This encourages fat storage around the abdomen and disrupts recovery. Ignoring recovery limits progress. Muscles and hormones need rest to adapt. Poor sleep and constant fatigue reduce fat burning capacity. Recovery supports hormonal balance and improves insulin sensitivity. Relying only on the scale creates confusion. Visceral fat loss can happen without immediate weight change. Muscle gain, water shifts, and fat redistribution all affect scale readings. Waist measurement, energy levels, and metabolic health provide clearer signals of progress. A simple daily action plan works best when it fits real life. The goal is not to be perfect. The goal is to create consistent signals that support visceral fat loss. The first step is to structure meals. Eat 3 balanced meals and reduce random snacking. Each meal should include a clear protein source, vegetables, and a moderate amount of healthy fat. This helps control hunger and stabilizes blood sugar. Leave clear breaks between meals to allow insulin to fall. Drink water between meals instead of sweetened drinks. The second step is intentional movement. Include short periods of higher effort during the day. This can be brisk walking, climbing stairs, or brief bodyweight movements. These moments do not need to be long. They need to be consistent. Regular movement improves insulin sensitivity and signals visceral fat to release energy. Light movement on rest days matters as well. Gentle walking or stretching keeps stress hormones low and supports recovery. Avoid forcing intense workouts when energy is low. The third step is protecting sleep and stress levels. Aim for a regular bedtime and wake time. Reduce screen exposure in the evening. Create a short wind-down routine to signal the body to relax. Small habits, like deep breathing or quiet time, help lower cortisol. This routine avoids extremes. No starvation. No exhausting workouts. No complicated rules. Consistency creates the hormonal environment where visceral fat reduction becomes possible. Visceral fat can sound frightening, but it is not a permanent condition. It is dangerous because of where it sits and how it behaves, not because it is unbeatable. This type of fat responds quickly when the body receives the right signals. That is an important advantage. The body is designed to protect itself. When insulin levels improve, stress hormones come down, and sleep becomes consistent, visceral fat begins to lose its purpose. It is no longer needed as an emergency energy store. When that happens, the body starts to release it. Many people feel overwhelmed because they believe fat loss must be extreme to work. That belief causes stress, and stress feeds the very problem they are trying to fix. Visceral fat does not require punishment. It requires alignment with how the body naturally regulates energy. Small changes matter more than drastic actions. Reducing frequent eating creates space for insulin to fall. Short bursts of movement remind the body how to access stored energy. Better sleep allows repair hormones to do their job. These changes send powerful signals internally, even before visible changes appear. Internal results often happen first. Blood sugar control improves. Energy becomes more stable. Inflammation begins to decrease. These shifts indicate that visceral fat is already responding, even if the mirror has not changed yet. Progress does not need to be fast to be effective, but visceral fat often responds faster than expected when habits are consistent. The key is understanding that the body is always listening. Every meal, every night of sleep, and every movement choice communicates a message. When the message becomes clear and consistent, the body adapts. Visceral fat is not stubborn by nature. It is reactive. And when the internal environment improves, it is one of the first things to change. Lasting change comes from consistency, not intensity. Small daily choices create powerful results when they are repeated over time. Visceral fat responds best to steady signals, not short bursts of effort followed by long breaks. Staying patient and committed allows the body to adapt safely and naturally. If you have existing health concerns or are unsure where to begin, speaking with a doctor can provide clarity and confidence. Professional guidance can help you tailor these habits to your personal needs and ensure everything is done responsibly. If this video helped you understand your body better, support the channel by liking the video. Share your thoughts or experiences in the comments. Your feedback helps others learn and stay motivated. And if you want more simple, science-based health content, subscribe to our channel and stay with us on this journey.